Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Painting Han. In today's video, we are going to be learning a 3-step of coloring technique or 4-5 step of coloring. Take a look at my coloring chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. The tip of the tree, I used a very light tone that we called the number 1. In the middle part of the tree, I used number 2. The 3 was used on the lower part of the tree. The darkest part was used number 5 tone of the color. In the sky, I used number 1 tone of color for the sky and the number 2 mid-tone of the color for the slightly darker area in the sky. Let's remember this, okay? This is the sketch for today's. For colors, Cadmium Yellow Deep, Vermilion, Pyrole, Rubin, Burnt Sienna, Sap Green, and Ultramarine Deep. I'm going to start with Vermilion to making color chart. For the number 1, I will take a very light tone of Vermilion. We'll call this number 1, light tone of color or light value of color. For the number 2, take a slightly darker tone of Vermilion. This is the number 2, the slightly mid-tone of color. For number 3, take a dark tone Vermilion that is slightly darker and thicker than number 2. We are going to call this number 3 the darker tone of color. For the number 4, mix a dark tone Vermilion with a touch of Pyrole rubin. That's we called the number 4. For the number 5, use a very thicker Pyrole rubin. This is number 5, the darkest tone of a color. We will call the number 1. This is number 1, number 2, number 3, and 4, 5. Through this, we will practice adjusting the amount of water and colors on the paper and brushes. Okay, remember this. I'm wetting the sky area of the paper with a large brush, then applying a light tone of ultramarine deep to the sky area first. Very light tone. This is the number 1 value of the colors, and followed by adding the mid-tone of ultramarine deep. Finally, blend them as smoothly as possible with a large brush. Look at my coloring chart. Here is the number 1 light tone. Here is the number 2 mid-tone of color. Okay. It's time to paint beautiful autumn trees. We are going to be using various vibrant colors like yellow and orange, pretty vermilion and red and a bit of green and etc. Take a number 1 light tone of cadmium yellow deep to paint most of the tree. When you apply this, leave some small space between the leaves to create branches and some airy feel. Okay. Next, take a number 2 mid-tone of vermilion to paint the center of the tree. Use the brush in a swiping motion and some dotting as well. What I'm doing now, take a number 3 of vermilion. I'm just dotting and using just the tip of the brush. Let's move on to the big tree. I'm going to apply the same techniques to this tree and the other trees. Painting in the 3 steps. With the paper, apply the first light tone of color, and next apply the mid tone of color, and lastly apply the dark tone of color to the darkest spot, and finally add some details. I'm going to use all same steps and techniques. For this tree, we use number one value of yellow color first, and then next take a little bit thicker mid-tone of the vermilion, and third, thicker vermilion color put on the center of the trees. And then finally, we will some detail. Let's draw trunk with the mixture of burnt sienna and sap green using dry brush. I mean, the dry brush means the brush has not much water, holding a small amount of water in the brush. Next, I'm going to follow the same three steps of coloring to this yellow tree. So I'm going to use cadmium yellow deep and burnt sienna and a bit of vermilion. Yellow mix burnt sienna. I put on the center of the yellow tree. Next, we will change the brush and draw the tree trunk and also the small branches. Use the tip of the brush and draw in a swapping motion. Look at my brush stroke. Use your brush stroke use very quickly and softly. If you move the brush slowly, the tree branches will be drawn very thicker. Now I'm adding some detail with the Pyrole rubin and vermilion color, the lower part of the trees. And I'm using the tip of the brush, so I'm dotting and blend some colors and mainly use the dotting. And also I'm adding some sap green in the yellow trees, lower part and the top part. And then between the trees, I painted with the olive green, kind of olive green color. And then draw some trunks. Let's try drawing the tree trunks with a rough brush stroke. It will be look more natural and airy. For the next trees as well, we will use the first, second, third, I mean the number one, number two, number three step of coloring techniques we have used so far. So we are using a variety of colors to create the vibrant and colorful autumn trees. So I mean, we are using yellow and vermilion, some kind of yellow, Pyrole rubin, burnt sienna, and a touch of ultramarine deep, even sap green, all of our beautiful colors. I like this red tree. I used very first some kind of yellow, and then now I'm adding the vermilion, and then the mixture of vermilion and pyrrole. Finally, I'm going to add some pyrrole mix burnt sienna a bit. For this tree, I use pyrrole, but if you don't have this pyrrole, you can use any kind of red. And then I mixed some of the burnt sienna. Now this is the last tree. We are going to be painting it in the same order. So take your time and follow along slowly. If necessary, pause the video and give it a try. I'm adding details to the trunks and leaves, touching here and there to add depth to the painting. So we used 3 and 4 tone of colors from our coloring chart for here. Draw tree trunks with a dry brush. I used number 3 and 4s for the detail and some part. Next is time to paint the house. However, the house drawn a bit taller than my thought, so I'm not satisfied with this drawing, this house. But I'm okay. It's okay. We can improve it next time. Okay? Such things always happen to me, but I don't care. I can draw or I can paint again. Okay? I'm using light tone and mid tone of ultramarine deep to paint the roof and the small space. For this house, there are many tiny space. I mean the small windows and doors and the chimney area. So we need a small brush. This is the number 1 value of the color. This is the number 2 tone of the color. My brush is a very tiny pointed round brush. Next, we are going to paint the ground. Use a large brush to wet the bottom of the paper and apply it with a light tone of yellow first. It's a number 1 light tone of color. And then add a number 2 mid-tone of vermilion where the tree meets the ground area. I'm still using a big wash brush. Next, change to a small brush to blend the colors and add cadmium yellow dip, and you can use any yellow from other brands. Ultimately, you can create beautiful colors on your own. So I'm just here to help you. Take your time and try with mixing colors and using different colors and different shade. I really hope you enjoyed the painting time. To create the fallen leaves on the ground, I'm using a yellow and vermilion, some red, Pyrole rubin, and the burnt sienna and sap green. Try using all the colors you used for the tree leaves. Keep doing it until it looks natural and organic. You can do it very well, okay? I'm adding some colors, a very tiny space between tree and the ground. I'm just that space with very light tone of the color. I used number 1 value of the color. We return to house. Let's touch up once more here and there, little by little. I drew some shadow from the house roof, but then that color is a little bit darker. So finally, I remove the shadow area. This is my favorite techniques, splattering with the yellow and red. Yeah, I used yellow, red, and Pyrole, rubin, sienna, all of colors with for the tree. So I used on the ground again. I'm adding some detail in trees with very dark tone of color. For here, I used the number 4 value of the color. I'm still working on in detail part. So I'm touching here and there. And then finally, I'd like to add some birds flying freely in the sky. Okay, today's painting is almost finished, and if you are still here, please to subscribe and hit the like button and great comment. Let's meet again in the next painting. Bye.